Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that strikes at the very heart of our society's foundation: justice. We place immense trust in our judicial system and the judges who preside over it, expecting them to be paragons of integrity and fairness. But what happens when that trust is broken? In this episode, we're going to look at 10 cases where judges were exposed for corruption, reminding us why oversight and accountability are absolutely crucial. Let's start with a case that sent shockwaves through the legal community: the Kids for Cash scandal. In the early 2000s, two Pennsylvania judges, Mark Ciavarella Jr. and Michael Conahan, were at the center of a massive judicial kickback scheme. They received millions of dollars from the developers of private juvenile detention centers. In return, Ciavarella, who presided over the juvenile court, handed down unusually harsh sentences to thousands of children for minor offenses like petty theft or schoolyard scuffles. He ran a zero-tolerance courtroom, ensuring a steady stream of young people were sent to these private facilities, enriching both the developers and themselves. The scandal was uncovered after years of complaints from parents and advocates. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court eventually overturned thousands of convictions, and both judges were sentenced to lengthy prison terms. This case is a chilling reminder of how greed can corrupt the very system designed to protect the vulnerable. Next, we travel to Texas to look at the case of Judge Rodolfo Rudy Delgado. A long-serving state district judge, Delgado was caught in an FBI sting operation accepting bribes. The investigation revealed a pattern where he would take cash in exchange for favorable rulings in his courtroom. The bribes, often hidden in beer boxes or delivered by intermediaries, were meant to influence his decisions on bonds and other judicial matters. What makes this case so striking is how routine the corruption had become. It wasn't a one-off lapse in judgment, but a systematic abuse of power. The FBI used wiretaps and cooperating witnesses to build their case, ultimately leading to Delgado's conviction on bribery and conspiracy charges. He was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, a stark fall from grace for a once-respected figure. Our third case takes us to Ohio, involving former Cuyahoga County Judge Lance Mason. This story is particularly tragic as it intertwines judicial misconduct with personal demons. Mason was initially imprisoned for brutally assaulting his then-wife in 2014. After his release, in a move that sparked considerable controversy, he was hired by the city of Cleveland for a public-facing role. The story took a horrifying turn in 2018 when he murdered his estranged wife, Aisha Fraser. While the murder itself isn't a case of judicial corruption, his initial crime and the subsequent handling of his career raised serious questions about the standards to which public officials, especially former judges, are held. It exposed a system that was perhaps too willing to give a second chance to one of its own, with devastating consequences. It highlights the importance of accountability, not just for on-the-bench corruption, but for all conduct that betrays public trust. Let's head south to Florida for our fourth story, centered on Judge G. Kendall Sharp. As a senior federal judge, Sharp's misconduct was not about bribes, but about a profound abuse of his position to carry on an inappropriate relationship. He used court resources, including his government-issued email and computer, to communicate with a former stripper. More alarmingly, he used his judicial authority to get her out of legal trouble, intervening in a state criminal case against her. He even had her sworn in as a special assistant to his chambers, giving her access to secure areas of the federal courthouse. An investigation by the Judicial Council found that he had brought disrepute to the judiciary. Facing impeachment, Sharp chose to resign, ending a long and otherwise distinguished career in disgrace. This case demonstrates that corruption isn't always about money. It can also be about abusing power for personal gratification. Now, let's talk about former Illinois governor and federal judge, Otto Kerner Jr. His case is a historical one, but it remains a landmark in the history of judicial corruption. Before he was governor, Kerner was a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals. The corruption occurred while he was governor, but he was indicted and convicted while serving as a federal judge. The scandal revolved around his acceptance of discounted racetrack stock in exchange for granting favorable racing dates and other political favors. He was convicted of bribery, conspiracy, and tax evasion, making him the first sitting federal appellate judge in U.S. history to be convicted of a felony. He was forced to resign from the bench and serve time in prison. The Kerner case set a significant precedent, showing that no one, no matter how high their office, is above the law. Our sixth case brings us back to the federal bench with Judge Jack T. Camp from Atlanta. His downfall was swift and sensational. In 2010, the senior U.S. district judge was arrested in an FBI sting operation after he was caught purchasing illegal substances. The investigation, however, revealed much more than just drug use. It uncovered that Camp had been carrying on an affair with an exotic dancer and had used his position to help her. He had even taken his government-issued laptop and a loaded pistol with him to meet a drug dealer. The investigation detailed a shocking double life, completely at odds with his public persona as a stern, law-and-order judge. He pleaded guilty to multiple felonies and resigned from his lifetime appointment. His story is a cautionary tale about the personal failings that can lead to a complete compromise of judicial ethics. For our seventh example, we look at the case of former Supreme Court Justice of West Virginia, Alan Lochry. His story is a textbook example of how arrogance and a sense of entitlement can lead to corruption. Lochry was at the center of a spending scandal that rocked the state's highest court. He was accused of using state funds for lavish personal expenses, including the renovation of his home office with a custom-designed floor mat and an expensive designer couch. He also used state vehicles for personal travel and was caught lying to federal investigators about it. The scandal was so widespread that it led to impeachment proceedings against multiple justices on the court. Lochry was eventually convicted on federal fraud and witness tampering charges and sentenced to prison. The case triggered a major overhaul of the court's financial oversight. Next up, let's discuss a case that involves a different kind of corruption, the manipulation of the legal process itself. Former New York Judge Thomas J. Spargo was known for his unorthodox and aggressive campaign tactics, but his corruption went deeper. He was convicted of attempting to extort money from an attorney who had a case pending in a different court. Spargo demanded a bribe from the lawyer, promising to use his influence with the other judge to secure a favorable outcome. When the lawyer refused, Spargo threatened to ruin his career. The entire scheme was caught on tape by the FBI. Spargo's blatant attempt to shake down a lawyer and corrupt a case he wasn't even presiding over demonstrated a stunning disregard for the rule of law. He was sentenced to prison and disbarred, his judicial career ending in infamy. Our ninth case is that of former Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Harvey A. Silberman. His corruption was a simple, old-fashioned case of cash for favors. In 2008, shortly after being elected to the bench, Silberman was caught soliciting a $1,000 bribe from a nightclub owner who had a case pending in a different courthouse. Silberman promised to use his connections to get the case dismissed. Unfortunately for him, the nightclub owner was working as an informant for the FBI. Silberman was arrested after accepting the cash. The case was particularly disheartening because Silberman had only been a judge for a few months before he attempted to sell his influence. He was convicted of bribery and sentenced to prison, marking one of the shortest and most disgraceful judicial tenures in California history. Finally, we have the case of U.S. District Judge Walter Nixon from Mississippi. Appointed by President Lyndon B. Johnson, Nixon's career ended in one of the few judicial impeachments in U.S. history. He was convicted of perjury for lying to a grand jury. The case stemmed from his intervention in the state drug smuggling case of a friend's son. Nixon accepted a lucrative oil and gas investment from the businessman and then spoke to the prosecutor about the case, attempting to influence its outcome. When questioned by a grand jury, he lied about his involvement. The House of Representatives impeached him, and the Senate convicted him, removing him from office. His case even went to the Supreme Court, which affirmed that the Senate has the sole power to try all impeachments, solidifying the constitutional process for removing corrupt federal judges. These 10 stories are more than just tales of individual greed and failure. They are powerful reminders of the fragility of justice. When a judge abuses their power, they don't just break the law, they erode the public's faith in the entire system. These cases underscore the vital importance of transparency, accountability, and the tireless work of investigators, journalists, and whistleblowers who dare to hold power accountable. Justice is a promise, and it's a promise that requires constant vigilance to protect. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into complex topics. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'll see you in the next video.